Hey everyone, today we've got the moon in Virgo and almost into that solar eclipse that will be exact on Sunday, September 21st. So I'm Marina Orms here with your Astro Vibe for Saturday, September 20th. We have the moon in Virgo. We've been looking at tomorrow's eclipse in a series of now 5 installments, with today being number 6. So, so I have lots to say about tomorrow's eclipse, and today we are going to talk about the Venus square to Uranus, another piece of the challenges and what is unfolding, how to think about this eclipse, what it means for you, how you can think about your life and what is showing up, and how you can participate in the bigger evolutionary journey that we are collectively moving through. So today, of course, the moon is in Virgo and will be in that new moon tomorrow at the very end of Virgo, 29 degrees Virgo. So we're in that Virgo energy. We are feeling the eclipse energy, and we've been feeling it for a couple of weeks since that full moon Pisces lunar eclipse 2 weeks ago. And not only that, not only do we have this very, very potent and fascinating eclipse, solar eclipse, but we also have the equinox on Monday. And so the sun enters Libra right after it forms this eclipse at 29 degrees Virgo. And sun entering Libra is the definition of the equinox in tropical astrology. So we have that equal day and night moment in the year, right? It happens a couple times, right? But with the Libra equinox, we are making that transition into fall. So this eclipse falls on the fall beginning, and also, of course, just has its own special meaning. And by the way, today I am going to talk about Venus and Uranus, but I also am going to share with you at the end of this video, for those of you who are interested in seeing the astrology chart and the alignments I've been talking about. I will share that at the end, so stay with me for that. So again, Virgo energy is about getting something right. It's about where we need to put in the work to make something happen, implementation, getting our hands on something, rolling up our sleeves to put something in motion, make it actually happen. It's moving beyond the step of dreaming or imagining or visioning, and it's about how we get dirty, get right, get moving forward to put something in actual motion. We've talked in these videos about, for the last week, about all these different pieces that are showing up in the chart for tomorrow's solar eclipse. So we've talked about yods, we've talked about a kite, we've talked about a square between Mars and Pluto. That was yesterday. Before that, we had the kite and the yods. We had the 29 degrees and the significance of that. And we also had the opposition between Sun, Moon, and Saturn, Neptune. Very, very potent energy pulling us in that direction of both sides of the Pisces Virgo coin, if you will. So Virgo being implementation, Pisces being the dream. So how are we going to make the dream happen? And of course, with 29 degrees Virgo, what we have is everything that is not right coming to the surface so that we can see it. And with Virgo, especially 29 degrees Virgo, that moment of reckoning of about to make that shift into Libra. And so what is not right, what is not ready, what is not perfect. And so it's that ability to see what is wrong, to see where the imperfections are. And so what we have right now is things coming to the surface to flesh out or flush out that deeper truth. And that's hard and can be a little scary, a little overwhelming, when you see those things that maybe you didn't want to see or couldn't see before, but now that you can see them, there now you can do something about it. So this eclipse can be a kind of turning point. What will that look like in the collective? I can't say for sure, but what I can say is if we harness this energy of this moment being a turning point, we need to think about how that shows up for each of us in our own lives. So, where where do you need to make some adjustments, release something that isn't serving you, make some shift to allow yourself to grow, to adapt, to step into new possibilities, shedding old skins. We've talked this week about leaving behind what is not going with you into the future, because the future is where the solutions to the problems lie. And every single one of us has some role to play in that collective future, in that problem solving experience. But now the other side of that is that you don't have to do everything, right? If it will feel overwhelming if you imagine trying to fix all the problems of the world by yourself, because you are not supposed to fix all the problems of the world by yourself. You are supposed to find other people to do it with. And that means being your best self. It means asking yourself, am I on track? Is there anything I need to do differently? Where do I need to make some sort of change? Are there any habits or patterns that I need to let go, release into the past? That there might even be some feelings that come up that are being flushed out so that you can leave them behind, right? Let it move through you and leave it, and it's not going with you. So letting things flow from that Pisces perspective. Saturn is about how we need to do the work and do the spiritual work with Saturn in Pisces and Neptune in 0 degrees Aries, Neptune at 0 degrees Aries, saying, there is something new beginning. There is a new dream being put in motion. And how can you see yourself in that dream? So, what does that look like for you? What does it mean about the choices you're facing in your life in very personal ways right now? How does that connect to what your own evolutionary journey, which in my way of looking at things, your evolutionary journey and your role to play in the evolution of the collective are the same thing. So that's the good news, is that when you do something that is true and right for you, you are making the best possible contribution and positive difference. And that might be, it could be a difference you make for a child, for an animal, for an elder person, for, someone you are helping out, maybe for someone you work with. Or, right, it could be that you are making a difference in a broader way. Maybe you're publishing or sharing, performing, so something that you're doing creatively or in your work that can make a difference for someone else or contribute to some sort of solution. And even if that is just something that helps people feel better, I would argue that's huge in making a contribution to the wider world and helping be part of the solution. So we're thinking about that, and I am going to talk today about the Venus square to Uranus. So we have two squares in the eclipse chart. One of them is that I talked about yesterday is the Mars waning square to Pluto. And the other we're going to talk about today is the Venus waxing square to Uranus. So when we're looking at a cycle, we want to look back to the conjunction of the two planets. In this case, fascinatingly, the Venus conjunction to Uranus took place on July 4th, 2025. So, a significant date for the United States, which is, whether you are a US citizen or resident or not, right? We can certainly see that it's up in the awareness of our collective experience. And so, US politics or whatever you want to call it, whatever it is that's unfolding in our collective I see it as an evolutionary journey. So, July 4th, 2025, significant day. And also looking back, at what was going on July 4th, 2025. First of all, we had the passage of a significant bill in US law that had to do with funding, money, Venus. It was a shakeup. Uranus has to do with shakeup, unexpected developments, lightning bolts. So it was a significant, um, if not earth shattering, certainly like out of the ordinary moment in terms of what was going on with the passage of that, what's called the Big Beautiful Bill, or the one Big Beautiful Bill. Not everyone thought it was beautiful, but the point is that the Uranus energy connected with the Venus energy, which is about it's about money, funding. It's also about values, Venus values, and the feminine. Okay, so things that have to do with resources, beauty, what we value, how we place value on things that traditionally have to do with the feminine. Not to put things into gender boxes, but right, just to think about that Venus energy. And the other thing that was happening around then is, I believe that is, that was like, I looked back and it looks like July 7th was when Pam Bondi the Attorney General made that announcement about a certain a certain criminal, shall we say, with the initials JE, who, that was surfacing in our collective awareness, and themes of the Me Too movement, themes of the feminine, themes of misogyny, of how women are treated, of those misogynistic dynamics, patriarchy, and so that theme surfacing, coming to the surface in terms of how we look at the feminine and the unfolding journey in terms of our collective consciousness, our collective awareness, and how we view themes of uh, dynamics between the masculine and the feminine, who has the power, so much, right? So, we'll keep it short here today, but the point is that Venus conjunction with Uranus was on July 4th, and that cycle now, and again, feminine values shake up, new information surfacing, cracks in the old awareness, cracks in the old story, the way that earthquakes change the landscape, just so many metaphors here. But now, with this eclipse, September 21st, we have Venus in a waxing square to Uranus. So 1/4 of the way through that cycle, and that waxing square is a turning point. So there's a point, and the square represents a challenge and something where we need to take the wheel and steer. So in addition to the other themes we've talked about with the September 21st solar eclipse, we also have this theme of the feminine, money, values, and resources. Where do we need to take the wheel and steer something? Where do we need to take a stand? If not to steer something in a big way, because, I don't know how many people watching this might have a lot of influence, but do it in little ways. State where you stand, state what you care about, even to your neighbor. It's like, don't be afraid to step into that dream that we've been talking about. Step into the future you imagine, into the future you envision. So maybe that's more equality between, the masculine and the feminine. Maybe that's more of a feminine centered power, which we've had a power imbalance for a very long time. So, what would it look like to restore that balance? And it's not just feminine, right? It's anything that's not dominant, the dominant paradigm. So any marginalized groups, fall into this category of, being oppressed. And so, what does it look like to have the little people have their power? So that's part of the theme of this eclipse is how do we steer that and how do we stand up for and find courage to steer things in the direction that we want them to go, in terms of standing up for the vulnerable, standing up for needs, looking at themes of healthcare. And that beautiful bill, had its impact on healthcare. So how do we care for one another? And how do we distribute resources in a more equitable or healthy way for us and for society? There's lots of questions there. And, I have my views, you have your views. The point is, these energies are with us. And if you feel strongly about something, this is a good way to think about it, that this is an opportunity to, take a stand in some way, be it big or small, and to say, this is the kind of world I want to live in. So looking at your life, this, as I've been sharing, this eclipse is about where do we need to get in alignment with what is going to bring greater balance, greater justice, and greater peace. And so, however you look at that or think about that, what is it that you need to get right? Where do you need to make adjustments in your life to see what's wrong, to find ways to fix it? Again, you're not responsible for fixing everything. You are responsible for fixing what you can. And in little ways are, significant. So local level, family level, relationship dynamics, even doing some healing work within your intimate relationship, even that makes a difference in this bigger picture because you're contributing to that positive way that you want the world to be. You're contributing to the healing path. So, what does that look like for you? How are you going to be part of what healing looks like and show up for this creative process? Because one of the things about feminine energy, which again, not about gender and not about putting anybody in a box, but feminine energy has to do with creative energy, creative solutions. Um, some of that more earthy and watery energy that wants to shape things, that does it through feelings and energy. So lots more we could talk about there, but essentially thinking about where your creative process is leading you, how to get your life, in order, right? What needs to be change? what needs to be released, what needs to be stepped into, and where do you need to take a stand and believe in the world you want to see. Hold on to that dream and take steps, little to big steps that you can to move in that direction. So this eclipse supports that in many, many ways. So this is number, 6, installment number 6 of all the different pieces we've been talking about related to this eclipse. And, tomorrow is the eclipse. So I'll be sharing probably more of a summary with you tomorrow. I also have a guided meditation for this eclipse, so I'll be sharing that. Watch for the link in the description for this video. And thank you for being here. Before I jump in with sharing the image of tomorrow's eclipse chart, I just will say my closing things, and then those of you who want to see the image can stick with me. I'm Marina Orms. You can book a reading with me at astrologyheals.com. Thanks for being here and subscribing. All right, so let's take a look at this eclipse chart, and you will get my interesting trying to control my mouse here to highlight things. But this is just so interesting. Even if you know nothing about astrology, just look at the symmetry of the lines in this chart. And some of the things that I've been talking about this week, here we have the sun and moon at 29 degrees Virgo. So that's the definition of the new moon, the sun and moon in the same point in the zodiac, both at 29 degrees Virgo. It happens to be an eclipse. You can tell because it's right here next to the south node of the moon. The south lunar node shows where that plane is that creates an eclipse. And then I believe on day 2, we talked about an opposition. So here's the opposition, and please excuse my messy drawing. It's really hard to draw with this mouse. But the opposition of the sun and moon to Saturn, this is Saturn, and this is Neptune. So Saturn at 28 degrees Pisces right here, and Neptune at 0 degrees Aries. So that opposition, very, very potent. And this chart is a 0 degrees Aries chart just because we're all in different places on the earth. So there are no houses on this chart really to speak of because it's not based on a particular location. So this will be, rotated based on your particular what's rising on your location. But at any rate, this is the configuration, and just so interesting. Okay, so that's the opposition. And then what else did I talk about? I talked about yods. So here's one yod. Okay, sorry for oh my goodness. Okay, that is a yod. Okay, and then that's one. We've got Venus and Mars in a yod to Neptune and Saturn. Then second yod would be here, pointing to Mars. And then a third yod would be here, pointing to Venus down here. Okay. So I will get rid of my messy drawing and you can see back to the lines, but just to highlight where these things are in here. And then finally we had a kite. Well, not finally, but here's the kite, grand trine there. And that's a grand trine. And then what makes it a kite is these extra sextiles here. Okay, so there's the kite. It's big triangle with a small triangle at the top. Looks kind of like a kite, especially with this opposition down the middle, and that's part of the kite as well. And then we talked about this square here. This is a square from Mars to Pluto. Pluto is in Aquarius. And finally, today we talked about this square here, Uranus and Venus here. So here's Uranus with a waxing square, or Venus in a waxing square to Uranus, Mars in a waning square. So it's approaching now Pluto. It has come 3/4 of the way and is in its final countdown to its approach to Pluto. So these things unfold over months and years. And let me just take all this messy drawing away and you can see again. Let me see if I can get that. Okay, and then you now looking at this with fresh eyes and just to really get a sense of the magic that there is in this chart. The geometry, the symmetry, the alignments, it's just profound. And this, by the way, these sextiles out here, we've got Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus in this double sextile that I've been talking about, and also trine. That is a once every 500 year alignment. And not only that, but even every 500 years, it does not align this close to in this much of a symmetrical formation. So really, really, really potent, meaningful, significant time of change as we are seeing in terms of how things are unfolding in the world around us, the uncertainty, and really it is a time to steer. It is a time to set positive intentions, and it is a time to take action to build and create the things we want to see and not count on someone else to do it for us. And that could be reiterated in many different ways. So, but that double sextile creates, right? It creates the foundation for the kite that we looked at here. It creates the foundation for the odds. So we would not be able to have this kind of alignment with the outer planets in these positions, except for maybe, at least every 500 years. And, going back 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, maybe we'll find something that was close. But anyway, this is very, very rare and extraordinary and fascinating. So there you go. Thank you so much for joining me. And I will be back tomorrow with a summary of what we've talked about related to Sunday's eclipse. Thank you for being here with me. If you missed any of the previous installments, they are all available on my YouTube channel. I will put the links to each one with what it was about in the description for this video. And I'm working on, hopefully by the time you see this, it will be out, an article, going through all the different themes I've discussed about this Virgo solar eclipse. And check out that meditation. It's available for $15 just to help you work with this energy. All right. Thanks again. I will see you next time. And I am Marina Orms. Astrologyheals.com is my website. Transformationalastrology.com is my member site. Thanks for being here. I will see you next time.